According to the FDA, more than 54,000 adverse events following vaccination were reported. Should you or should you not vaccinate your children? I'm Dan Matthews, and this is Lifestyle Magazine.
Welcome to Lifestyle Magazine with your host, Dan Matthews.
Our first guest on this edition of Lifestyle Magazine is Cindy Goldenberg, co-founder of a volunteer parent-run organization called HAVOC. That stands for Health Alternatives and Vaccine Awareness Committee. Also a regular on our show, Dr. Edwin Neblett. Welcome, Neb. You have your own experience with this business of vaccinating when it was bad. Tell us that.
Well, I was the perfect mom, and I was very obedient, and I went to the doctor on time and got all the inoculations. At 1 year of age, my boy was due for his MMR. He had a cold, and I waited a month.
MMR?
Mumps, measles, and rubella inoculation. After he got his mumps, measles, and rubella inoculation, within 2 weeks, he started to lose eye contact and have stimulatory behavior, hand flapping, sound sensitivity. But I did not know that this was the beginning of autistic behavior. Within 1 year, by the age he was 2, he was diagnosed with autism, or more specifically, pervasive developmental disorder, and that is borderline autism. So now I have a child that they said, he'll never love me, he'll never look at you, he may or may not talk, you can take him to speech therapy if it makes you feel better, but we really don't know where it comes from, and get over it and don't be in denial and have a nice life. And after 55 doctors and 9.5 months of searching, I found the culprit. I found a vaccine, high rubella titer, and I then found a lot of information regarding vaccines, which we're discussing today. But more importantly, I won. I treated his immune system. I found an immunologist. He got gamma globulin infusion therapy, which boosted his immune system. His rubella titer came down. His weakened immune system, even though he looked healthy and he wasn't sickly, but his immune system was dysfunctional. We boosted it. The brain inflammation, which was minimal and not showing up on an MRI, mind you, but it was there, it went away, and the behavior, the eye contact came back, and then 2 years of therapy, I now have a normal, healthy, beautiful 6-year-old boy.
It's great when we can have stories like this with happy endings. But I know HAVOC has some experiences that haven't ended so happily.
We work with people a lot who call us. Like I say, we're a nonprofit, not even nonprofit, it's like a resource group. We have information and teach you how to become informed and educated about your lawful choices. But we did want, especially one woman today to come, but her child died at age 25 months, which is outside the realm of SIDS because you have to be 2 years old or less. And we do talk with people that have lost their children and been put into the so-called SIDS wastebasket. And I myself do network with many organizations regarding autism and the recovery.
What was it that you think led to the child's death?
Well, that child got his DPT and MMR and I believe it's HIB, 7 shots in one day.
Well,
and
how soon after that happened did the child die?
The child died within 2 days. And
2 days of receiving the shot?
Yes, and according to our government standards, which constitute what is a reaction and what isn't, you must have for instance, with an MMR or even a DPT, for instance, anaphylactic shock or convulsion or death, and some of them are 24 hours, have been shortened to 4 hours. So even if you have a child that does go through a convulsion or has a seizure and it's 8 hours, they go, did it happen within 4 hours? Well, then now that doesn't constitute a reaction from that vaccine.
So what you're saying is that there are a lot of reactions that could be tied in with the vaccine, all of the vaccines, and that a lot of them are not being reported, and even those that could be reported, they are underreported.
Exactly.
So there may be a whole bunch more.
Exactly.
That's scary.
Neb, is this accurate as the account that she's referring to here, that those vaccinations really were the destructive factors in that child's life?
Well, the truth of the matter is, we know that for you, it certainly was accurate. I don't know how many children receive the vaccine and don't have the problem, although I know that the figures that are put out by the Centers for Disease Control are something like 1 in 650 or some number like that.
Some astronomical number, like it rarely happens.
Yeah, like less than 1 in 100 of a child would have a problem with any of the vaccines.
But I think Havoc says if it's your child, it's 100%.
There's no question about that.
That's right.
But then the other issue that we're bringing up here is it worth it? Is the problem that you have with the vaccine worth the benefit that you are supposed to receive?
Exactly.
And that's what we are going to be struggling with.
Neb, you're a family doctor, and you deal with these kind of things.
Oh, yes.
In 1 minute, how do you respond to these scary facts?
Well, what I must do with my patients is to educate them about the possibilities of each of those vaccines. And I leave it up to my parents to make the decision, because they have a right to do that. This is their child. This is their heart.
I wish I had him.
You know, and you cannot just simply say, take it, shut up. This is what you're supposed to do, and if you don't do it, you're going to get into a bunch of trouble, because that's not true. Parents do have a choice, but first and foremost, they must be educated.
Oh.
Well, when we return, we're going to meet a brave doctor who the American Pediatric Association claims is on the wrong side of the fence regarding this vaccine issue. So don't go away. I want you to meet him. We'll be back.
Then I started to get into nutrition about 1972 and noticed that a lot of my patients, because the mothers would ask me, why is the kid sick all the time? Well, bad genes from the father's side of the family or something like that. The father came in, it was bad genes from the mother's side of the family. So I said, maybe there's some other way.
Next few.
And Dr. Smith. Welcome back. Joining us now is Dr. Lyndon Smith, renowned pediatrician and author. He's received national acclaim for his award-winning TV series, Health and Humor. Dr. Smith's radio featurettes, Health Tips, are heard on over 75 stations nationwide. We want to welcome you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you. That's very nice little plug.
Yeah.
No, I can get...
And
I'm not done yet.
You just stay with us. Now, you're a pediatrician, a baby doctor, and for years, I'll bet you inoculated children, vaccinated them, and now you're again it.
Yeah.
Well, how come you changed?
The training we got in medical school and our internship and our residency said this is, you're the ultimate in prevention medicine. Bring them all in. It was a nice way to get the mothers to bring their kids in, too, to the office. So we'd had an office call to charge them for it. Do an exam, time for the shot. So we'd stick them with the DPT. And then when the polio came along, and then measles, mumps, and rubella, we did all that stuff. And people would call in the next day and say, the kid feels awful. He's got a screaming swollen leg or arm, and he's throwing up and doing some... a lot of kids do that. It's okay. That was our routine. And then, so as time went on, and after about 20 years of these sort of things, I noticed that many of my patients that I'd given the full immunization, they were good. These mothers were good. They want to do the right thing. Go to the right doctor. and they were getting the diseases for which I was getting the shots. I said, that doesn't make sense. We're supposed to prevent these things. But it didn't happen to all of them, so it was kind of up in the air. And then I started to get into nutrition about 1972 and noticed that a lot of my patients, because the mothers would ask me, why is the kid sick all the time? Well, bad genes from the father's side of the family or something like that. The father came in, it was bad genes from the mother's side of the family. So I said, maybe there's some other way. So I began to read the literature about nutrition, and especially the one done by an Archie Kalakarenas, an Australian doctor who in the 70s wrote a book called Every Second Child. He was out in the outback in Australia giving to the Aborigines, who were on this terrible diet. They were eating a lot of white flour, and they didn't have ding-dongs, but there was just junk food. And every other kid died after the DPT shot. So he went to the government and said, they're dying, we're killing them. He said the government didn't care much about the Aborigines, so he said, no, you're making a mistake, they've got some other disease. So on his own, he gave each kid 100 milligrams of vitamin C per day per month of age, 600 milligrams to a 6-month-old, 1,000 milligrams to a year-old. Gave the shots, nobody died. So he said, I think I've got an answer to sudden infant death and sort of help the immune system, which is now all the research in the last 20 years indicates if we can hold somebody's immune system together, they can withstand the shot, but maybe they don't need the shot in the first place. So that initiated some of my reading and a lot of the things that, where are those books that you brought? Well, you sold them already to the So that brought up all these other things. I've been reading a lot of this, and it's all standard stuff in the medical literature, but the American Academy of Pediatrics is still a bit of a stuffed shirt. They're pretty good about giving us some advice, but I think they're so afraid they're going to lose face and say these things don't work. They're not only dangerous, but they're ineffective. You probably read in Time magazine a few months ago that the New England Journal of Medicine, a rather prestigious medical journal, said in 1993 there was an epidemic of whooping cough in Cincinnati, and 70% of the kids who got whooping cough had had the full immunization. So what's the point of giving the shots if they're not going to work? So these people that say we should have the shots say, we've got to give them more frequently. So they get it down to give a shot every day? Is that what they're going to do? My. It's incredible. So all the shots have the potential of giving some problem.
But worse than just getting that disease, according to what Cindy has been telling us, there are other side effects that are even more dangerous.
You bet.
But isn't there a claim, doctor, that the incidence of disease has dropped because we've been doing these immunizations?
No.
You've got the right relationship, but it's the disease incidence has dropped before they started the immunizations.
Right.
Before they started.
You're saying that the improvement in diseases occurred
on their way out.
Has absolutely no association with the vaccinations?
That's right.
Right.
It's coincidence. It's coincidence. In the
Hygiene.
30s, you can see these results back in 1870, why everybody, had diphtheria, whooping cough, and they all measles, and it was terrible. Then as time went by, here were you can see this graph, and they got it for all disease, even TB and smallpox. First TB is coming back, but smallpox and all the rest of it, they were disappearing. And then they got the shot started, almost like they had to quickly get the shot started so they can get the credit. But those diseases are running in 4-year cycles. So every 4 years, there's a recurrence of this stuff, whether they get the shot or not. And in Australia, now get this, it's not mandatory, so half the kids get the shots, half of them don't. And the incidence of these diseases, whooping cough, diphtheria, all the rest of them, is the same in each group.
See.
And so the American Academy of Pediatrics, when I wrote them, said, you're up for a class action suit. So maybe somebody here can start that.
But even the FDA, remember what I wanted to tell you, in 1994, the Supreme Court ruled against them, saying, we know that the only way to get polio is from the vaccine. There has been no wild polio. The only way that you can get it is from the vaccine since 1961. So the FDA says, well, that's because you caught us, and now our strain, the oral polio, is so virulent, it's so strong that you can catch it whether you're inoculated or not by changing a diaper or being coughed on by a recently inoculated child. So now they said, well, it is substandard, it is too strong, and in 1995 we'll rectify that by rewriting the guidelines and making them lower. So now...
You mean more dilute?
No, rewrite the guidelines to say, this guideline, by admitting to say that this polio vaccine is too strong and causing this reaction. Now...
But give it anyway?
But give it anyway in 1995 because now it's not substandard because we lowered the standards. The government rewrote it to include it. So it's the same thing.
So there's something going on.
This is revolutionary stuff, though. I mean, we've got generations that have been dragged to the office and been shot.
Most of these people, sure.
So what's the answer?
Well, the answer is the immune system and immunity. So we think, sort of following what Archie Calacarina said, that we've got to get more people healthier. We've got to stop eating junk food. When you go to the store, shop around the edge. Don't go in the middle and buy that other stuff that's in there. Go around the edge.
But wait a minute.
Who's going to do that?
This doesn't work for every bug.
Hey,
No,
listen,
but-
we've got a doctor who's beginning to talk about something from personal experience, and we want to hear all of it. So you just stay with us, and we'll be back right after this break.
Hablarte del amor de Cristo.
Stuff will be...
To vaccinate or not to vaccinate. And Dr. Neblett, we cut you off.
Well, I just want to know, does this apply to every... Look, let's face it. We know that if you get the disease as a child, the side effects of the disease itself will be less than if you get it as an adult. And it gives you permanent immunity
Lifelong
for your entire life.
Right.
The idea of the vaccination is supposed to provide us with passive immunity. It doesn't last as long, but it's supposed to prevent you from getting it so you don't get it when you're an adult. If you get chickenpox as an adult, it's a lot
not
worse.
passive immunity. That's from the immune globulin. But you get active immunity, but they don't know how long it lasts.
That's right.
And it doesn't go on a cellular level. So what you're saying is you're hitting the nail on the head by going into the bloodstream. You're supposed to shake hands and go and get a disease and have it incubate and stay in there, have lifelong immunity. It comes, it goes.
Goes through your spleen and your lungs and
everything.
all the cells.
When it goes into the bloodstream, there are no long-term studies to know what it does. Who cares if it, my son had a high antibody. All they do is measure antibody levels.
But not with the effect of the antibody levels on any child.
They're made with formaldehyde, kidney, animal carcasses.
Formaldehyde? That's embalming
aluminum,
fluid.
mercury, all known carcinogens and toxins that they're stabilized with. They're put into the bloodstream. They're stored into the brain. There are nowhere in God's green earth any long-term studies as to what they do. You have constant learning disability, retardation.
My question is this. Okay, that may be the case for whooping cough or for the measles, mumps, rubella that you said.
No.
But is it the same for tetanus?
Tetanus lowers the T cell level for up to 2 weeks.
Wait. The tetanus vaccine.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
here's a
what
question,
you're saying
panel.
is that there is no immunization that's any good, not even the new chickenpox one that's coming out.
Right.
Now, they found out that tetanus is a very rare disease now because mainly the surgeons are, when they get a puncture wound, they clean out the whole thing, so there's no place for that tetanus spore to grow.
Okay.
Right here.
I felt that if somebody's going to get something, like in the Second World War, there were 6 million soldiers, and they were all supposed to get a tetanus shot before they went overseas and got punctured. And there were 12 cases of tetanus in our armed forces. 6 of those guys paid somebody else to go through. They were so scared, and they got lockjaw. So there was some protection from that.
But see, that was long before hygiene and the medical standards and doctors that were brilliant like you. I mean, they just didn't.
So what you're saying
they
is
didn't know how to go in and take care. Hygiene is a lot to do with it for the going down on the diseases.
Panel, we got a question here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've spent a great deal of time talking about the risks that are involved to the children who are getting these vaccinations. But what about the risk to society if we don't vaccinate it? I have a friend whose daughter was born with a heart defect, mentally retarded, and a hearing problem because her mother was exposed to rubella during her pregnancy.
Dr. Smith.
Yeah, even that is getting less as a problem now, but it did certainly happen. And if the mother gets rubella in that first 3 months of her pregnancy, why the child is at risk for having that problem.
Well, the answer to that obviously is to give every woman of childbearing age the rubella vaccine.
Yeah.
But that has caused viremia and chronic fatigue, and that's proven, and that is proven on the federal guideline, on that restrictive guideline where they have come forward to say, yes, these things are admitted. First of all, you have to say vaccination eradicated disease, which it didn't. And I'll give you information that is Center for Disease Control, all our government statistics. All we are doing is telling the truth. We're telling the flip side of what you think you know, which isn't that you don't know, you just haven't been informed.
I've got another quickie here. I've got to interrupt.
Okay.
Make cutting remarks to get in edgewise here. So there's a hepatitis B vaccine that they're now promoting for little babies.
Right. When you're in the hospital, they give it to you automatically.
The mother goes to the hospital and she's busy with her labor and sign this consent. Okay, and that says you can give this shot. So the baby gets this shot, and they found out that this hepatitis B mainly happens in prostitutes, intravenous drug users, active homosexuals, and people are getting high risk people. Yeah. And so if you got a child that's going to do those things, maybe it would be a good idea. And that sort of sets up the whole thing. And some people point out this about those shots, that it involves the immune system of the body so much that there's nothing left for anything else. And that's why people are saying they're getting cancer, autoimmune diseases like lupus, and a few other odds and ends.
Right here.
Yeah.
If these vaccinations have so many side effects, why do you have to have them to attend school?
You don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. Well, the truth of the matter is that you do have a choice. The reason why it's being done is because the Public Health Department says we have to protect you from everybody and protect everybody from you, so everybody gets the shots if you're going to come to school. Because look, you don't know that when you're in school that this person came from another place, they brought a disease, and now you're going to get sick. So therefore, everybody gets it.
That's assuming, like the lady said about the rubella and the child and the pregnant woman getting rubella, and what we're talking about with this chickenpox and everything else is that when you get these inoculations, even if they do work temporarily, you can get them again as an adult. Those are the statistics that we're telling you are the fact. 90% of the people still get them. So then you're an adult, and so we're kind of like messing up the imbalance. But on the other hand, everyone, and there are now 20 states with Nevada just joining yesterday or 2 days ago, where you have philosophical objection. You have what you call an exemption on a California immunization record. I mean, this is a nationwide show, but you have a form that they say you've got to fill this out before you go to school. So go ahead and fill it out, put your name and address. If they've been inoculated, fine. If not, you just leave that blank, because on the back, and California and 20 other states have personal belief affidavits saying, I don't believe, it's contrary to my belief. All other states have religious and medical exemption. I could go to the doctor and get a medical exemption and say he doesn't need to get one.
There is something that we can do. We have an alternative. We'll be back right after this break.
The Hope Channel, touching lives around the world.
That even if
that has an 800.
A little wisdom can go a long way. For more inspiring faith moments, visit
National Vaccine Information Center outside of Washington, D.C. that has an 800 number that can begin to give you a lot of information, book sources, laws, etc. Their number is 1-800-909-SHOT, S-H-O-T. I have a group, and my number is, it's HAVOC, Health Awareness Vaccine, Health Alternatives Vaccine Awareness Committee, 714 area code 589-0932. We too have a packet. And then there's another number that you can call, New Antlion Press, that has an entire book list of everything in the whole world on vaccines.
Well, I'm going to let them call the 800 number. I think that'll lead them. Dr. Smith, a closing comment.
Yes. We've mainly got to help the basic immune system. We've got to eat better. We've got to take some extra vitamins. If you're really stuck and your doctor won't let you out of the office until you get a shot, at least take some vitamin C before, during, and after. And if a disease comes along, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every hour will make that disease so mild and you'll have permanent immunity.
Dr. Smith, Cindy Goldenberg, Dr. Nebula, thank you for being here and stirring up our ball.
Presenting the best news in the world.